In this lesson, you will learn how to trace, sew, and poke and press using Textile 7 sewing shortcuts. This is the mulberry trim in the Scallop series. You can create flat trim, gathered trim, and you can mirror your trim and gather. Start by laying your shortcut down, leaving a 5 cm gap between the top edge of the fabric and the peak of the scallop. Trace around the scallop using a fabric marker. Mark in your alignment lines so that you can move your shortcut over to create the next piece of trim. This shortcut will create a beautiful mulberry scallop trim. This is the Mulberry Corner. You'll need for this the corner and the straight shortcut. Place down your corner shortcut first and work out how much fabric you'll need. Line up your straight shortcut on either side of your corner to make sure that you have enough fabric. Then trace around your shortcut, using the baseline to line up the straight guide. You can also create sculptural elements with your corner. Place the shortcut down and place a pin in the hole. Mark out and swivel your shortcut around to mirror the other side. You can be as creative as you like with these sculptural elements. The mulberry inverted corner. This shortcut creates a beautiful inner curve, gather and straight trim. Place your shortcut down, making sure you have enough room on either side for the shortcut. Trace around your inner corner first. Use your baseline to line up the straight. Mark out using a fabric marker. This is the mulberry simple pivot corner. You'll need for this the corner and the straight shortcut. Place down your corner shortcut first and work out how much fabric you'll need. Line up your straight shortcut on either side of your corner to make sure that you have enough fabric. Then trace around your shortcut, using the baseline to line up the straight guide. The mulberry curve shortcuts. You can create flounce and you can gather on the curve with this shortcut. Start by placing your shortcut down and place a pin in the center of your curve shortcut. Use your alignment lines and trace around the edge. Match up your alignment lines and move your shortcut around. Repeat this for the entire circle. You can also create a boundary around your shortcut by using one of the inner holes. The curve shortcut can also move around pattern pieces. Pin your pattern piece down and place your shortcut on the edge that you choose to curve. Trace around your shortcut, placing a pin in the center point at the baseline. This will allow you to tilt the shortcut into place for the next position on the curve. Notice when the second half of the curve is drawn that the tilt is created according to the shape that needs to be curved around the pattern piece. The scallop is created very quickly with this shortcut. The mulberry inner curve. Place your shortcut down and place a pin in the center point of your shortcut. Trace around the shortcut using the alignment lines to line up every single scallop. You can use the larger curve shortcut to create the boundary around the trim. The Mulberry Odd One Out. To create a half scallop, draw in your shortcut lines and mark in the halfway point on the odd one out. Then move your straight shortcut into position and smooth out the lines. To create a mulberry extended recess, mark out your straight shortcut and join your odd one out to the straight shortcut and mark out the lines. To extend the mulberry scallop peak, place your odd one out into position and mark out the halfway points. Move the odd one out into position and stretch it over. Mark in the lines and turn your odd one out around to smooth out the peak. This is the sewing technique for all the mulberry shortcuts in the Scallop series, demonstrated using the Mulberry Straight shortcut. Set up your machine with a foot that allows you complete visibility to the stitch line. I use an open toe foot. Most machines will come with a buttonhole foot, so this could be a good option. Just make sure the foot has a large window. Make sure to have the extra slide-on table attached to the machine. For sewing tight curves, I prefer a Microtex needle, but the needle preference will depend on the fabric. Set the needle position to down if your machine has this setting. If not, use the hand dial to set the needle to down before each pivot. Set the stitch length to 2.5 as recommended on the shortcut. Be sure to leave a 5 cm or 2 inch gap between the fabric fold and the peak of the scallop. Once you become more confident sewing scallop, this gap can become much smaller. Make sure to pin each scallop. When sewing scallop, face the peak of the scallop towards your dominant hand. In my case, my dominant hand is my right, so I face the scallop peaks towards this hand. The mulberry scallop is the same curve, peak to recess, so this requires both hands to apply equal amounts of pressure and turning in tandem to one another. Splay your hands equally and toggle the trim under the needle. Now watch the action come together. Notice the extra gap of fabric between the peak and fold edge is useful for grip. Your splayed fingers act to spread and flatten the fabric so the needle has clean, accurate stitches as it pierces the fabric surface. Follow the shortcut line as accurately as possible. Once the scallop is sewn, take the odd one out and use the seam allowance guide to mark in the 2 mm line from the stitches. Once you become confident at sewing scallop, you won't need this guide. You will use your eye for this distance. Ensure this is a 2 mm gap as the seam will tear through if the gap is smaller. Cut out on the seam allowance line. Iron off the fabric marker. Pop each scallop through to the correct side. Take your poke and press and start to push each scallop out to the seam edge and lightly iron. Notice the poke and press has a flat end. This is to help you manipulate the fabric more easily on the ironing board. You can make batches of trim ready to add to whatever your next sewing project might be.